Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. We all know that in any situation there are losses. You can't always win, you can't always lose. Nobody is perfect, nobody is perfect in its or his goodness or in his evilness. Let's put it this way. We know that anything that we do, we must lose somewhere. We win here, but we lose here. We lose here, but we win there. It depends how you look at things. In this case, by judging by that, I think that's a truism. It's not something that I have to really make a point about it, but I just did because, that's how you do. Just start a little bit and say, okay, based on this, you set the rules, the boundaries, and then you go with that. We could agree that weapons are not weapons that are delivered from NATO for the Ukrainian NATO, United States mainly, to the Ukrainians to fight and use them and die, will end up and probably already end up on the black market, and they're sold for a profit. I mean, that's using my intro. Based on that truism, it's very possible that that occurs. Now we have a few people here in this article that actually make a point about that, and they will discuss that the Ukraine sells weapons on black market. All right, let's see. This article comes from Sputnik, Russian outlet, so beware of its leaning, as when I use Ukrainska Pravda or New Voice of Ukraine, the same way. Just pay attention. Or the American so-called free media, okay, the same. Be careful of the narrative, because they all have a narrative and they all have, a point of view to push. So this article comes from, as I said, Sputnik, and this is the title. Ukraine sells weapons on black market due to limits on ability to use, ex-Pentagon aide says. Well, I don't think it's only the ability, it's also the money, the profit. Ukraine is selling Western supplied weapons on the black market because the ability to use them is limited by lack of training, logistical challenges, and the dwindling size of its armed forces. Former senior Pentagon advisor Karen Kwiatkowski, so Karen with a K, Kwiatkowski said, Polish name, right? On Tuesday, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said weapons supplied by the West to Ukraine are already ending up in the black market, on the black market, and spreading across the Middle Eastern region. Now, that comes from Shoigu. You would say, it's Russian, obviously, he's going to say whatever he needs to say. But we have the other one, the former senior Pentagon. She's not Russian, is she? So Kiev has even admitted that foreign aid meant for Ukraine is already being sold. Ukraine Bureau of Economic Security, let me see here, Director Vadim Melnik this week, but this article is not from today, just so you know, this week, told Ukraine 24 that the agency had identified repeated cases of the sale of Western military and humanitarian aid. So as of now, we got the Ukrainian, right, from the Ukrainian Bureau of Economic Security. We had one from the former senior Pentagon Karen, right, and the other one from Shoigu. You can discard Shoigu, but there's three independent sources. They're independent of one another. I don't have any evidence to support any allegations that Karen works for Shoigu and Shoigu works for Vadim. Okay? Now let's use a little quote here. Given that these items are quote-unquote free, a great deal of profit can be made. Who's this smart person? Let's see. Selling what is not needed or cannot be easily used. Kwiatkowski said, Karen, a retired U.S. Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, said, and I'm quoting again, Ukraine's ability to utilize these gifts, quote-unquote, is limited by lack of training, logistical challenges, and ever-shrinking size of the Ukrainian army. So this is what Kwiatkowski Karen said, retired Lieutenant Colonel of U.S. Air Forces. All right, then he says, some of the incoming material is incomplete, while other equipment, Kwiatkowski said, just cannot be made to fit into Ukrainian tactics or strategy. Kwiatkowski, I don't think Ukraine really is in control of its tactics and strategy. I think the United States is, and some of NATO generals, which is again United States' main dog. And ironically, she added, some of these weapons will likely end up in the hands of Russia and its allies. Kwiatkowski also predicted that even weapons Ukraine can use will eventually be sold. I have some information from some Romanian sources that they saw videos posted by the Russian army with some American weapons, new one, that never used, sold to them by the Ukrainian, on the black market. That's what they said. I never watched those. I didn't see those. There are some people in Romania who told me, oh, on the TV they showed that. Well, I don't doubt that at all. It was another, or some articles a while ago regarding the same thing here in the United States. But I said, well, I'm not certain if I should do this. It's something like probably occurs. I'm not surprised. Now, even if or when this little NATO or United States-Russia war ends in Ukraine, there will be a lot of weaponry around. Who do you think is going to get that? The Ukrainian military or NATO or United States is going to come and say, everybody please give the weapons back, and everybody's going to come, here it is, here there's a tank coming, this is the HIMARS tank going. Well, I'm pretty sure the Americans have ways to figure out where their certain equipment is, like a HIMARS. I'm pretty sure it's not like, oh, well, we lost one. They're very well, coordinated. So, but there are other weapons that could be used, Javelins or whatever they're called. You can take care of a bank, or you can take care of a parliament with that. I'm just saying, you arm people, and now they're on your side. They are your dogs that fight those guys for you. But it won't going to be one point when these guys are going to follow their own interest, or they might disagree with you. And what do you think they're going to do? From there, where are you? Right there. That happened before many times, is happening, and will happen. So let's go and see what's next here. It says that, and I'm quoting, even more effective US supplied weapons like the anti-tank Javelin missiles, M142 HIMARS, high mobility artillery rocket systems, and M270 MLRS, multiple launch rocket systems, would probably start appearing on the black market once the Ukrainians decide to negotiate. Sorry, the US decides, and it will never negotiate, a ceasefire and a settlement with Moscow. Kwiatkowski said. She just thinks that the Ukraine is still in control. The US and its allies have sent billions of dollars worth of military aid to Ukraine since Russia's operation began in February. The Biden administration alone has committed nearly $7 billion as of July 1st, but now it's 17.5, the State Department said last week. As I said, this article is not from this week, but it's still relevant. As I said, this Kwiatkowski Karen, because it's easier Karen, she thinks that it's really between the Ukrainians and the Americans. Ukrainians and the Russians, this war. Well, keep that story up. We already know it's kind of like not. They're just, Ukrainians are the territory and the weapon. And the other guys are the person who handles the weapon on the territory. That means in Ukraine. It's just, you send them, you tell them where, what to do, and so on. I have no doubts. And we're going to hear about it. And I'm telling you what, if you read stuff, historical stuff, events from the past, you find out naughty things that countries did, and you find after 20, 30, 40 years, when they get the agreement, green light, to publish those kind of things. Like, for instance, I never knew, for instance, that the Americans were using in Vietnam, when I found out they were using AK-47s, they used them. Why? because they were more reliable than M whatever there was, M16 or whatever that was. So how that's possible? I didn't know that. I mean, that was a while when I learned, but I'm not saying that was a secret, probably then. But not only that, there are many things that happen that come to light after they get the green light to be told. So the same here. We're going to find out that actually there were probably, I'm 99.9 certain, that platoons, American platoons in Ukraine, not advisors, military advisors, that's how they're called, you know, or trainers. Canada sends trainers now to Poland. Really? And they're going to be just training the Ukrainians. Yeah, okay, thank you very much. All right, so I have no doubt those weapons will end up and they will hurt exactly Europe, not necessarily United States, Europe. European that now are weaseled in by those guys. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth and be just.